Okay, let's start the session now. Hello everyone, thank you for joining the session today. And if you guys remember everything from the yesterday session, let us recap it a little bit because yesterday we created a full-fledged managed scenario RAP based application. In Eclipse, we created a lot of objects, and at the end we got a Fiori application up and running. How we started: for an RAP development, we start with a database table or any data source, which could be a CDS view also, that is fine. After creating a database table, we go with the second step where we create a data definition, which is on top of a database table. In our case, like in my case, this was the table, and on top of this table I created this data definition, the CDS view. As I mentioned yesterday, in RAP, for one application there should be one and only one root view entity, CDS view, that means. So in our case also, the data definition, the interface view that we created was the root view, just like it's showing here. After creating the root view, if there is a requirement that we are creating a complex application and we might need multiple we might need to use the data model for multiple requirements, in that case we can create a projection view. In our case, since we were creating a very simple and plain application, we did not create a projection view. Then for any kind of styling purpose, for example, adding the filters here in our list report, for labeling, for search helps, like this F4. Right now if I clicked on F4 help here, we cannot see anything much apart from I just need to manually enter any value. For example, I entered 1 or 2, like on. I cannot select from any drop down, but that is also possible, and the logic for that is can be written inside the metadata extension. So metadata extension here is used for adding the labels, positioning the fields in the screen, for search helps, for any kind of reference or add-on that you want to put for a particular field. If you want to create multiple sections also in the object page, like if I open this object page, if I want that along with booking there should be another tab here which should open some different section of data or a new table entirely. For those things also we have this facet section in metadata extension. Then for any kind of behavior that we want to perform with our data, let's say we want to create the data, update, delete, or any custom action we want to add in our data, for all those things we go for behavior definition, where we mention what kind of actions we want to perform. If we want any custom action also, we have syntaxes like action followed by the name of the action, and also we have a lot of different syntaxes for validations, determinations, numbering, and all those things are possible within behavior definition, where we just mention the names, not implement the logic. For implementing the logic for all the custom actions, we have option of this implementation class. So all those logics are written inside this class under this local test. Since right now we opted for manage implementation, and as we know, in manage implementation the standard functionality of CRUD operations, we don't need to explicitly write the logic for all of those things. So for that we have not written any logic inside this implementation class. Then again, for the same thing, just like we created the projection view, we can opt for behavior projection also, but in our case we did not need it, so we did not create it. Then for exposing the CDS views, we create service definition, so that for what data model we are going to expose for the end user, we mention it here at the end. For the consumption, could you please mute yourself whoever is unmuted. Thank you. So the last part for any RAP application is the service binding, where we specify what kind of thing we are going to create. Is it a API, just an API, or a UI based service, and whether it's a OData v2 UI or OData v4 UI service. Once we specify that, we activate and publish it. We get to see the entity name here, and we can click on preview button to see the UI service available here. So we did this much exercise yesterday. We were able to create our Fiori application completely. But what now? What to do with this application? How we are going to provide it to our end user, the customer? So for that, there comes a picture of Fiori Launchpad. So whenever we provide our end solution to customers, they always go with the first thing, that is Fiori Launchpad, which is the homepage for all the users. So it is provided. This is a standard T code actually. In GUI also, if we use S4 HANA systems, we have T code called /UI2/FLP. If we just execute this T code, automatically this Fiori Launchpad gets opened. Okay, I'll answer the queries in the comments after I explain this Fiori Launchpad. So this is the standard application provided by SAP, where we can display all our applications that we are building or which are already available, which already came by SAP. For example, the standard applications of maintain customers or maintain employees, manage sales orders, manage business partners. All those applications are the standard one, which also appears in the Fiori Launchpad after the configuration is done by the basis team. So in this Fiori Launchpad, there are two things. If you can see my screen, this is how the Fiori Launchpad looks like. In this screenshot, you can see there are three sections. One says My Home, second sales order, and third one is sales commission and incentives. That means it is also possible to group similar kind of Fiori applications here. And whatever boxes you are seeing here are called tiles. So these are just the hyperlinks of navigating to the applications, either our custom application or the standard application. And this grouping is done in two ways, either by creating catalogs and groups or by creating pages and spaces. These are new concepts of Fiori Launchpad that you can study later on, but just for the reference that this is how we configure and set up the Fiori Launchpad. Yeah, so any question for this part? Okay. I see there is a question, the difference between RAP and KPM in BTP. So the major difference is that RAP is used for developing the Fiori application in this stack environment, meaning that whatever we are doing with the help of the features and facilities available within SAP. We are not using anything any explicit service, and we make use of ABAP. In KPM, Cloud Application Programming, we do not make use of ABAP, but we have different technologies. We can make use of JavaScript, we can make use of Java, Python, and basically when we use RAP, we create transactional Fiori applications. When we use KPM, we create extensions. Just right after these two topics, I am going to explain what is extension and where exactly KPM comes into the picture. So if there is no question regarding the Fiori Launchpad, how exactly can a application appear inside this Fiori Launchpad? Like how this tile is appearing here. What do we need to do? I'll explain the answers of the comment section after this. So for any Fiori application to appear in the Launchpad, we need to configure the application, but before the configuration there is one step that we need to do, that is to deploy the application. So basically deploying any Fiori application meaning that it is now ready to configure within the Launchpad so that it can be visible to the customer, to the end user. And how exactly deployment works? So there are different steps based on the environment we are using. If we talk about SAP BTP, then we have a different set of process. If we talk about S4 HANA systems, then we have different set of process. But right now, since we are focused on SAP BTP, this is one of the tutorial provided by SAP with all the steps mentioned as it is, that we can just follow and we will be able to deploy the application. Right now we are not going to do all of these steps, but they are very easy, like logging into the BTP trial account, opening the account, and as I mentioned earlier, that web environment is only for developing the applications, nothing else. But if you want to deploy the applications, that means we are going to involve um, BAS into the picture, SAP Business Application Studio. So we will open that. In BAS, we first create a space, development space. We select just like this, name the development space, create it, then we open it. Inside that, there is a default folder called projects, which is always available. So any development that we do, any kind of UI5 development or Fiori development, or if we want to deploy any application, everything goes inside the projects folder. So if you see, this is the project folder. After that, particularly for BTP applications, if you want to deploy, we create a MTA project. There is a command that we can run, and after that we just name the ID, the description, and we just click on finish. As soon as it is done, we again go and we log into the Cloud Foundry. Why we do that? Because we are talking about BTP here, and if you recall the BTP, let me log into the BTP trial account quickly. When I was explaining the entire cockpit, what is service, what is subscription, what are boosters and everything, there is something also we have seen called HTML5 applications, and this whole thing is a part inside the BTP cockpit where for any kind of web development, web environment, wherever is involved, we use Cloud Foundry also. If I scroll to this step, we are obliged to log into the Cloud Foundry environment just by entering the APIs, which this one API endpoint. It will ask for the same username password which is there for our SAP account. Once we log into it, we are logged into our global account, then to the space that is just created. Once this is done, we create a Fiori application. We run this command. We select the list report object page. Reason being, are you guys able to see my screen? Can anyone confirm?
Yes,
Yes,
Sachin.
Sachin.
What about you, Abhishek? I think he's not able to see my screen. Let me reshare it. It's visible now. Can anyone confirm?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, perfect. So since we are talking about RAP application, we will go for this template list report object page. We will go to the next step. We will connect our system. In our case, you can see here system is ABAP environment on SAP BTP. We will select our service binding that we created in the list. The whole list will come here with all the standard and custom OData services which are available in BTP. Then we select the main entity. In our case, we have only one entity because we have only one CDS here, this one. If we talk about multi-level hierarchy, like one parent and number of child, in that case you will be able to see here multiple entities, and you can choose to expose any of this as an application. Then we mention some project attributes. We just select some data like Cloud Foundry, destination URL. We enter few more details such as semantic object and action. These are some things which are required, which can be created in SAP GUI. These are just like configuration settings, so you don't need to um, understand it much. After we finish it, we will be able to see in our Explorer we got a lot of files auto created. So out of all the files, the important one for deployment specifically in BTP is mta.yaml file, and this is same UI5 application that we create when we do a freestyle development. We got node modules, we got web app. Inside this we have view controllers and everything. It's just that the representation is a little different than freestyle application, but it's almost the same thing. For the sake of checking whether the application is perfectly working or not, after we have imported into the base, that is business application studio, we can open the terminal. We can try to run the application using the command npm run start. Once that is done, we get to see the application. We tested it. Now it is time to deploy the application finally. We right click on this mta.yaml file. We click on build mta project. We wait for a little while some of the commands get executed. Once that is done, a folder called mta archives will be available inside our project. There will be a file .mtar. We just right click on the file, click on deploy mta archive. Again some commands will run, and as soon as that is done, we will be able to see. We will go back to our BTP cockpit under HTML5 applications, and the application that we just deployed will be available here. So this is now available to be used inside Fiori Launchpad. We can click on it. Again the same thing, we can test the application, and if we want, there is a separate service in SAP BTP called Launchpad service. We can go to that application. We can create a we can opt for that service, then go to the application. Inside there we can configure the content, this pages and spaces that I was mentioning. Like if you want to group them in some order, we can do everything inside this place. We can rename the application. You see in the content explorer we have this application available, so we can modify the description, the logo which appears in the Fiori Launchpad. Like if you see, we have some icons coming here. Everything can be done from this place. So this is how the deployment works, and only after this happens the end user is able to see the application. So this is all about the deployment. Is there any question in this topic? Okay, no. So now we know how to create a RAP application, even though it's basic one, but we at least know that. Second thing, we know how to deploy it. But what if there is a requirement which comes that there is already a standard RAP application and they want to enhance it with something else? Like they want a new field to be introduced, they want a new section to be introduced, they want to modify something, they want to repositioning something. For example, they want that this tile should come at the last and the last one should come here, or they want to relabel it. It should not be sales order but something like sales order section. So how to achieve all those things for a RAP based Fiori application? For that, the concept of extensibility comes into the picture. The thing which we used to call enhancements in SAP GUI is now called extensibility in SAP Fiori. Not just RAP but whole Fiori. In extensibility also there are now 3 different kinds of extensibility. One is called key user extensibility, second is called developer extensibility, and third one is called side by side extensibility. What are all these things? So if just now that I mentioned, there are some silly things like you just want to relabel something in a standard application, or you want to reposition something, like some field is appearing here, you want it to be in a different section, or you just want to remove one field. So these are very basic things that anyone could ask for. Any client could say that I just want to modify this thing. It's not a very complex requirement. So for all such requirements which are quite simple, adding a new field, removing a new field, changing the label, repositioning, this all task can also be done by someone who is not a developer. So for that purpose, SAP introduced a new concept called key user extensibility, which allows customization of Fiori application, adding application logic up to a certain limit, creating custom fields, exposing additional data, developing the custom forms or email templates, a little bit about analytics also, without writing a single line of code. There is no need of a developer or any kind of developer. Anything can be done by a functional person also. And who is the target person who can do this? As per SAP, the business users can also do this at their own on their own. They don't need a developer for doing all those things. And what are the development tools where we can do the key user extensibility? So we have bodies, CDS views, base, and SAP BTP, where we can do all of those things. Key users can modify the existing Fiori application. A little bit of custom logic also can be implemented. They don't need to know which body it is. They just select that, yeah, this is something called sales order creation. I'll click here, I'll go in, I'll write ABCD, and it will work automatically. So everything is possible now. This is a very vast topic. So I'll share the link of this blog with you so that you can read more about what are all the different kind of key user extensibility features and applications available. Second comes when there is little more requirement, where there is a need for flexibility, much complexity, and they want to add more than just a regular field. They want a different table itself. They want to create multiple actions. They want to write a logic for complex logic for some actions, like then in that case they want to call a custom API which should be isolated from custom the standard solution should be isolated from our custom solution. In that case they come for a web developer. For any kind of developer extensibility, that is only and only done within the Eclipse, because we just saw how restricted environment it is when we were talking about a web language version here yesterday. If you guys remember this part, a web language version, a web for cloud development, was there to keep you restricted, so that whatever kind of development or extension you are going to create in the standard process also, everything should be stable so that it doesn't break anything. So for that purpose, developer extensibility is there. Developers can utilize RAP utilize release objects or local APIs to extend the standard process and develop our own custom services. That is second thing. What is the third one? Side by side extensibility. This picture comes only on the BTP part, while the above two are also applicable for S4HANA systems. In side by side extensibility, we make use of KPM. So SAP BTP serves as a unified platform for extending both kind of system, cloud based as well as on premise SAP solutions. So in side by side extensibility, we can not only use ABAP programming language, but also JavaScript or Java or any other language which supports the cloud native tools or cloud native libraries. It could be Python or Ruby also. Everything is possible. So for all that, we have SAP Base where we do all the KPM related activities. The primary purpose of KPM is to create extensions in SAP BTP, so that with the help of release APIs, so that we can integrate it with our S4HANA cloud or on-premise system. So that is why we use KPM. So these are three different type of extensibility options available in our SAP system that you can utilize. So is there any question in this one? Did I answer your question, Jitendra? Yes, no, anything?
Yes.
Okay. So others people, are you guys getting what I am telling from the beginning, like extensibility, what is this thing, what is deployment, or is it too technical?
Yes, Sachin.
Okay,
Stay.
glad to know. So with that, there is something else in cloud, in SAP cloud. We have something called three-tier architecture, where there are three kind of different developments that we as an ABAPer perform. The first one is tier 1, second is tier 2, and third one is tier 3. What are all these things? So whenever you are doing ABAP development in S4HANA system, private cloud, or public cloud, or in SAP BTP environment, if you are going on full restricted mode, like you are using BO contract, you are using this language version ABAP for cloud development, in that case, and you are making use of key user extensibilities and all those things, in that case the development that you are doing is considered as tier 1, which is completely stable and upgrade safe. So tier 1 comprises our custom development object, which strictly follows all the ABAP cloud guidelines, not just limited one. Beside objects in their own software component, we use release objects. Like yesterday when we were checking, we saw this one, I underscore business partner. In our cloud development model, I can fetch the data from business BUT 000 with the help of iBusiness partner, because this one is a release API for us. So that means I am still adhering all the best practices. I am still following the ABAP cloud rules. That's why my development will be considered as tier 1. So in future, if you are working in any project where you are primarily working on RAP development and you are taking consultation from SAP, your client might ask or might push you, even SAP will push you for sure, to always follow tier 1 development wherever applicable. If for some reason you are not able to follow the best practices, you are not able to follow all the cloud rules, and you find that there is some table or something which is not available in cloud at all. For example, I don't have a proper example of that right now, but let's consider that there is a table VBAK, and for some reason this table is not released for cloud. Right now it is released for cloud, but I don't have a better example right now. So suppose VBAK table is not released for cloud, but still your client is telling that you are using private cloud on premise of S4 HANA, and I want the data from VBAK table. So do something and make use of it in your tier 1 architecture. I don't want to make it less cloud. I just want to make it cloud stable. So what you will do? So for that thing, you can create a CDS view on top of VBAK, just like we have here I business partner on top of BU2000. You can keep the ABAP language version standard ABAP because it is not available for cloud development, and you go to API state. You create a contract here. This is a standard one, so we don't have any create or edit option here, but in the custom case you will be able to see the options. For example, here you see this is my custom CDS view. I have the option of creating the contracts. So whenever you in the end project create any contract, you go for C1 because this is the one we as an web developer do. C0 comes from SAP directly, C2 is not for releasing the wrapper objects, and C3 is not available here. Okay, good. C4 is also there for AMDP purpose. I never saw any example of it in my life. So whenever we release any object like that, in that case we becomes the development of that particular objects falls under tier 2, where for the custom SAP interface which is available in the classic ABAP, and there is no standard API available for that, we create a wrapper of that and we release it so that it can be used within the cloud environment, so that we can call that particular object inside any of the objects which we have created in the tier 1 development. So that is tier 2. The third one is the last one. Whatever development we do in the standard ABAP and we do not release it falls under tier 3. So our GUI development, all the development that we do in the SAP GUI are tier 3 development, not tier 1 or tier 2. So that is the basic difference between all three developments. So is there any question in this slide? So about your question, Jitendra, that you are not able to connect RAP with SAP GUI. You are unable to fetch the data from tables. First tell me, in your project RAP is on BTP or S4 HANA? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, it's on BTP.
If it is on BTP, then for connectivity there are few steps that we do. If I open my trial account, we see in the BTP cockpit we have destinations. We create the destination HTTP type so that we can have a connectivity between our BTP system and GUI. And second step is in GUI we create our gateway services, okay, or data services, so that we can send the data to different system like in BTP or any third party system. Once we have created this OData service, we get a metadata file of that OData service. Like in our RAP, when we created a RAP application, suppose this RAP application is developed in S4 HANA environment, not in BTP. In that case, I have this URL. If I click this, I got this file which is a metadata file, XML file. So I will use this metadata file. I will go inside my RAP on BTP environment, and here I will create a service consumption model. This is a different topic. I will create a service consumption model. I will specify what is the type through which I am going to receive the data from different system. If it is OData, then I'll select OData. If it is RFC or web service, I'll select the other one. After I'll click on next button, it will ask me to load the metadata file of that OData service. So this metadata file I'll load there. I'll finish that creation of service consumption model. Once I'll finish that, I'll get the boilerplate code, like how to read the data, how to create the data, how to delete the data. It all depends on the OData service. If your OData service is allowing us to create the data, then you will be able to see the create operations also in that boilerplate code. So once the service consumption model is available there, and only after you have specified the destination here, okay, then there are ABAP codes available. You can easily Google them, and you can just write your ABAP logic inside anywhere inside RAP or inside BTP. You will be able to fetch the data from your S4HANA systems. So that is the basic process. Is this clear?
Yeah, okay. I have already at a destination, but
Yeah.
when I try to connect, I'm trying to build an app, uh, and I'm trying to create a cap. But when I try to, fetch the OData services, it says the OData service is not available or it is not connected.
Yeah, for KPM there is a separate process. I am not really aware about that right now.
Okay.
But in case of RAP, this is how we do it, by creating the service consumption model.
Uh-huh.
So you
Okay.
can read more about that on YouTube. So anyone else has any question? I suppose no. So now we know how to create a basic RAP application. We know how where we show the application at the end. For that, what do we need to do? We need to do the deployment, and after the deployment, what kind of operations, I mean, along with creation of RAP applications, what else can we do? How the extensibility works? It is just a basic introduction of different kind of extensibility. And the last thing is, what are different kind of development models that we follow, tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 in our S4 HANA and BTP environments. So what now after everything? I'll share all these links with you, but we are approaching to the end of whole bootcamp. Actually, I am planning to finish it today itself. So after that, you want to go deeper in RAP by learning all the concepts one by one. Like in behavior definition, we only studied these things, three things: create, update, delete. What else is there? If I press Control space, I see action, association, change document, deep mapping, define. Lot of features are there. What are all these things? Where to study all those topics? So for all that, either you can simply Google and find your own material, and also there is one guy called Ram Nivas who is continuously creating more and more videos on RAP on BTP, and all the lectures, all the videos are very specific to each and every part. Like for creating an action, there are multiple videos available, so you can go on depth in all of those topics one by one, and start exercising also along with watching the videos. That's one thing. Along with that, if you want to practice on your own, there is a learning course available by SAP also. I am just opening it for you. Getting started with creating a SAP Fiori elements, that is RAP application based on OData v4 service. So that also you can completely follow. Step by step procedures are there, and multiple units are also here. third thing, when we follow tier 1 architecture, when everything is related to tier 1, and some of it, even if we are creating the wrappers, still when we are releasing them and making use of them with tier 1, at the time the type of development that we are doing is called clean core development. So whenever you hear this term in the future, that do you follow clean core principles, that means are you following all these above cloud rules strictly? If yes, are you creating most of the objects in tier 1? And even if you are using the unreleased objects, are you creating wrapper of them and releasing them and calling it tier 2? If yes, then you are already following clean core principles. So that is the definition of clean core, if you ever hear it in the future. So there is one more, practicing clean core extensibility for S4HANA Cloud, a very big one where you can study in much detail about everything about clean core principles and everything. Then I have some links also available here that you can bookmark for future reference, which are very much helpful. This one contains like thousands of different kinds of web codes for RAP, for S4HANA, for BTP, all of them. Then we have here a blog on stable APIs or release APIs. Then there is one more about clean core, like now you know the basic difference between in-app extensibility, the side-by-side extensibility, and developer extensibility. But whenever any requirement comes in the future for any kind of extensibility, how do you approach it? How do you figure out what will be the best suited requirement and where do you start from? So all those things are available in this single document created by SAP itself. You can just go through this document once and you will get to learn more. Like extensibility is a very important topic. I want to start by saying this and all. I found a app, I want to extend it. How to do it, and if it is extensible at all. So how to find it, everything is mentioned here from beginning till the end. So you can just read that blog and that will do. Then if you want to see the whole things in action, like how exactly the client key user extensibility works, there is a proper tutorial available here, video kind of tutorial, where you can just read the details, go in and start the exercise. This is free of cost. I think you don't even need to log in. Yeah, you don't need to log in also. Just click here and the whole tutorial will be available here. You just see the things in action. Yeah. So these are all the topics that you can follow later on. Now with that we come to the conclusion, and you can also unmute and directly ask me any questions. So about the learning materials for SAP BTP Cockpit and RAP, I will find the proper resources to you and send it to you in a while in the WhatsApp group, and along with that I am going to share with you the LinkedIn ID of 3 people that you can follow. They keep on sharing the links for SAP BTP and RAP, and also for the web cloud topics. So just follow them, and this Raja Gupta keep on sharing the same thing over and over, so that whoever are the new followers of him can go through the materials of to learn more about SAP BTP, their services, RAP and AWAP on cloud as well. Ram Nivas is the one who creates the video of them directly, so you can subscribe to his channel also if you want. You can just visit his profile once. And the third guy is the one who create much deeper topics about RAP, AWAP on clouds, and the best practices that we should follow about the cloud. So this is all about the materials also, I would say. If there is any question, please ask. Otherwise, we are just going to wrap the session now. Thank you so much, and you guys were really supportive and engaging in the whole session. I was not expecting that you all would be completing the exercises within the session, but you all did. So, congratulations to all of you, and thank you so much.